What's the deal, y'all? This your boy King Ed the Great coming at y'all with another video. So I'm gonna do something a little bit different with this video here. I want to talk about Jam Vendetta, the video game that came out in 2003. And this came out around the time where hip hop was exploding in terms of popularity, in terms of sales, record sales, tours, merchandise. Hip hop was exploding to the point where every other genre was playing catch up and was trying to emulate hip hop. So Def Jam wanted to tap it into the video game field. And this time they wanted to create a Fight Club style, wrestling style video game called Def Jam Vendetta. And see, what was dope about this game here was not only would you be able to play as your favorite rappers, but you also get the No Mercy control engine. One of the best control engines of all time. That OC engine, the AKI engine. That's one of the best video game engines of all time. I wish the WWE would keep using that because that would make No Mercy what it was. And you had Scarface, Redman, Nori, Meth, Luda, Keith Murray, Joe Budden, Ghost, X, Capone. Only complaint was I wish they had more rappers in here, but it was a good startup game. And you know, it was the typical storyline where you had to work your way to beating certain rappers and then you could pretty much play as them until you get the D-Mob, which was the crime boss. But the hardest characters, if not the hardest to me, was DMX. DMX was probably one of the hardest characters I ever had to beat. This nigga was literally like Mike Tyson punch-out status. We would literally have to stay up all night long to beat this nigga. And the other characters, even Meth and Red, they were pretty hard as well. But what was dope about Def Jam was you get the realistic fight scenes. The grappling was realistic. It didn't look too cartoonish. It had a decent story. You had great music. The voice, it didn't sound like it was just piped in. It was the actual rappers using their real voices. This was overall a dope video game, but Def Jam Vendetta, not Vendetta, but Fight for New York is where that was the 5-star game right there. That was the 5-star game right there. Because they added more rappers. They added Mac 10, Lil Flip, Ice-T, had Mobb Deep, Fat Joe, Snoop, Slick Rick. Who else they add up there? Bubba Sparks, David Banner, Shauna. They literally went all out with this one here. And it was a better story with the original Def Jam OGs. Sided with D-Mob, and they going with against Crow, who was Snoop Dogg. So the story was a whole lot better in Def Jam Fight for New York. Yeah, it was blood. It was blood scenes. It had a real fluid story. It had drama in it. I could tell they really went all out in making that game a lot better than the first one. Now the third one, straight garbage. That is probably the worst of the series. For one, a lot of the Def Jam people, a lot of the cast that was a part of that, it was Def Jam Icon. Def Jam Icon was one of the worst. Because half of the people weren't even from Def Jam is in the game. They took away everything that made that game dope. They took away the dope finishes. They took away the grappling. Half of the roster was gone, and you only had new people with Game and Jeezy and T.I. and Mike Jones and Paul Wall and Lil Jon and Big Boy and Bun B. But everybody else was gone. The soundtrack was decent, but in the storyline they kind of switched it up to where you had to build a label. But even that wasn't as fun. And I believe after that, when all together they just canned it. Nobody was really feeling Def Jam Icon. They took like 5 steps backwards in creating that garbage. But the Def Jam series, overall, the first 2, if you're a video game head, buy those. Bush Def Jam Icon. Trust my word for it. So, this is King Eric signing out. Subscribe, hit the like button. Peace.